Hello, everyone. Welcome in to another edition of our BDPA Tech and Career Talks. I am our National Tech and Career Talk leader, Devin Jenkins. I serve as a commercial IT success manager at GE Healthcare, as well as the founder and CEO of Share the Vibes LLC. So, currently reside in Charlotte, North Carolina. Previously in Milwaukee, originally from Georgia. So, connected to everything we're talking about here today. Before we jump into today's conversation, in case you are new to BDPA or the Tech and Career Talks, I always like to give a little bit of background so you know who you're dealing with and what we do. So BDPA is Black Data Processing Associates. The organization has been around since 1975 as a forum for developing our African American talent pipeline in the technology field. We have a focus around youth, particularly middle and high school students, teaching them computer programming skills, professional development, and things they need. And they have opportunities to compete in our national high school coding competition, which we'll probably hear a little bit about today. And then we also have a focus on professionals and college students, making sure we provide opportunities for continuous professional development, networking, and staying relevant and current on new technologies as they emerge so we can stay relevant in our careers. And our mantra is advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. These tech and career talks take place second and fourth Friday of each month. With the exception of August and holidays, there are some special circumstances. But for the most part, we're here second and fourth Friday each month with a range of topic and speakers. Some are very heavy technology focused, some are more soft skill related, but we have something that everyone can find value in, regardless if you're a student, an executive, or retired. You can find value in our tech and career talks. So we're excited to have you here. I hope you continue to join us for our remaining talks throughout the year. But today's conversation, keeping in with tradition, we always like to dedicate our last talk before the conference to the conference. So today's conversation is all around what to expect at BDPA Con 24. If you don't know, we'll be in Atlanta at the Western Peachtree Plaza next week. I think I'll get there Wednesday, and we'll be there for the rest of the week. Getting ready to have a great time at BDPA Con 24. So we're excited today to have two of our debonair leaders for our organization, our national president, Mr. Perry Carter, and our national vice president, Mr. Eric Ejiofor. How are both of you doing today?
Well, great, Devin. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for being on. So to kind of keeping in line with today's theme and getting everyone excited for the conference, why don't we just start with your favorite BDPA conference memory? Let's start with you, Perry. I think you've been to a few more than Eric and I. So.
Well, good morning, everybody. And thanks again, Devin, for having us. So my favorite memory is going to go way back in the day, right here in Washington, D.C. In 1990. And in 1990, I was just leaving active duty. I was working for a company called Perot Systems, and we were supporting a company that you all may know as MCI. So we basically were the sponsors of 1990s conference. We had it at the Grand Hyatt here in Washington, D.C. But what I think was most impressive was that we had, again, this precedes the internet. Data processing was still very, very hot. And BDPA was really the only organization of its kind back in the day. And we had close to 1,000 people at our banquet. We had almost 100 vendors at our career fair. And believe it or not, I was the chair. I was the chairman of that conference. Now, what we did, we also had tremendous support from industry because, again, at the time, BDPA was the only organization of its kind to host events of that magnitude. And Washington, D.C., everybody likes to come to Washington. So we've had tremendous success in Washington, D.C. But what made it most memorable was we were able to have at our banquet, we made it almost, I would say very formal. It was black tie. And again, this year will be black tie again. But we also had a lot of my classmates and shipmates to support us from an organization known as the National Naval Officers Association. And in NOA, like BDPA, it's comprised of officers in all three of the sea services, the United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, and United States Coast Guard. So what we did, we had NOA dress up in their dress white uniforms. And at the banquet, we had each of them escort all the ladies to the tables at the banquet. Very formal. very regal, most impressive. And, and looking back on it at the time, no one could try to just walk in. No one's just going to try to walk into the banquet and just have a seat. You actually had to get by sailors and Marines to get in. So it was really nice. We had a great time. But that was the most memorable conference that I had. It was, of course, the first one that I attended in that magnitude. I was also in the late 80s, back in 87 in New Orleans. I was the chief judge for one of the first high school computer competitions that we had back in 87 in New Orleans. But next to that one, the 1990 was my most memorable conference. And it really set the tone for some of the things we did in the 90s.
Thank you for that, Perry. Yeah, I remember my first conference too. Mine came a little bit later than that. But we were actually in Atlanta that year, believe it or not. And I was like, wow, this is what's really going on. Because, up until then, my interaction with BDPA had been working with Rosemary, who's on the call today. I'm in the local chapter there on Saturdays. I put up and I see all these companies and kids all over the lobby of the Westin. Like, what in the world is going on here? So, no, I definitely remember my first conference. So that resonates. Eric, how about you? What's your favorite BDPA conference memory?
Yeah, I would have to go with the conference in 2020. It was a crazy time for reasons that we all know on the call. And the concept of us doing anything in terms of a virtual space was something brand new. There were even some comments by the great late Earl Pace Jr. that it's okay if we don't have a conference this year because we know that the circumstances are rough ultimately. But just seeing the community support and band around making sure that we were able to still, create an experience was one, amazing. Two, just the ingenuity that went into making sure that we had spaces for networking, that we had spaces for getting just like that good content, being able to also share that amongst not only the conference goers, but also across our YouTube channels and things like that. Ultimately made an experience like that really, really cool and really, really unique and kind of one of its kind type of thing. So that would be one of my favorite conference memories, is just being a part of planning something great at the end of the day.
No, I'm glad you mentioned it because I remember that 2020 conference as well. If I remember, that was in Six Connects. Wasn't that the platform
Correct,
we
yeah.
used? Yes, I think that was, if it wasn't Terry's last year, we were coming up on that timing. And that was the year I was brought in to start leading the Tech and Career Talk. So that was my first conference since Cincinnati in 2017. So it had been about 3 years for me. And it was definitely a unique experience. And I had the pleasure of being the producer for the HBCU Collider event with the Air Force Research Laboratory. So I got to see some of the behind the scenes workings of what was going into making that conference happening. So that was very impressive. And I saw a lot of other organizations kind of follow suit after that. I think NSBE did a virtual conference, maybe in Six Connects as well that year. So definitely a unique experience and two completely different perspectives coming from our vice president and our president. So it just shows the breadth of what BDPA has to offer in our membership. So thank you both for that. Kind of to get into this year's conference, we're less than a week away now. Wednesday is fastly approaching. So for both of you, what are you most excited for as we head into next week?
I think the biggest thing that I always enjoy is just the competition between chapters. Just having all the chapters show in and show out, bring in the representation, and also compete for some of the trophies, especially from a HSC perspective, IT Showcase, and all the other general wonderful events that are happening throughout the conference. And just being able to see representation across the country at the conference really makes something like that really cool for me at the end of the day.
What about you, Perry? What are you most excited for next week?
So, Devin, I would have to say, this goes back almost to the earlier question. I would have to say the Atlanta experience. It's really a trip down memory lane. And in the mid 90s, I know I was actually BDPA's first webmaster in the mid 90s. And we launched BDPA.org in Atlanta, right up the street at the Marriott Marquis. And we used a company known as US Black Online. Our mission partners was Silicon Graphics. And we also had Bell South to help provision a T1 line. And it was really exciting because they never saw an organization like ours request a T1 line in a hotel for any conference.
Yeah.
So we were probably the first organization of its kind to just request of activity like that at a hotel for any conference. And when you look at Atlanta now, this year, we have, I counted at least 4, maybe 5 technology conferences that are going to be in Atlanta this year. Ours, of course, kicks off next week. ChannelCon is next week also, right down the street. That's going to be at the Hyatt with CompTIA. The Supercomputing Conference is going to be in Atlanta next month, and also BitCon 2024, Blacks in Technology, is going to be in Atlanta. So being one of the first organizations to host a tech conference in Atlanta, where, with the technology that we had at that time, and to see where it is now, that always excites me. And so really, I would like to see what I expect next week is just to continue to build upon the Atlanta experience. Later on in this particular session, we can talk about some of the mission partners and some of the activities that we have to really foster that camaraderie and build upon the networks that we need to develop. But yes, I would say I'm looking forward to just the Atlanta experience.
No, I love what both of you shared. The competitions was kind of what stood out to me my first year going. And these students, high school and middle school, coming from across the country, building databases and all these things. It blew my mind. I was like, I wasn't thinking about this stuff, as a ninth grader. So I love what BDPA is doing. And most people come to Atlanta for different reasons. We hear about Atlanta being Black Hollywood and everything else that Atlanta is now, but we also bring a Black tech experience to Atlanta that exists there throughout the year. But what you just said, it almost seems like a Black tech mecca, if you will. And we're kind of kicking that off for 2024. So I'm excited about that as well. I'm excited to see some of the partners we have here this year. So this year's theme is big data and predictive analytics forged by the power of AI. We're hearing AI everywhere. I just hosted an event where we had a big AI focus. But for BDPA, who's no stranger to AI and emerging technologies, why was this theme chosen? And what is its significance to the organization?
Well, Devin, that's my fault. And Eric, you can chime in too. I'm always curious as to what other generations would like to say. Because that's the diversity of BDPA. We have several generations here represented. But it's my fault. So like now in 1990, going back to 1990, that same year, we had the teenagers from Dr. Bimley's program, Joint Educational Facilities. We actually had teenagers to present an artificial intelligence model of a Black teenager's shopping habits at the mall. This was in 1990. And you might have seen one of the covers. We had a magazine called iPlus Magazine, and they were featured on the cover of that. But they actually presented that at the 1990 conference. And from that point, AI has really been not widely talked about or used in mainstream. So fast forward, we felt that we've always been in the communities trying to promote careers in technology, careers in IT, or whatever the flavor of the month will be, what they want to call it. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be data processing. And we've had people want to try to change the name, talk about this is not data processing. But one time, here in Washington, D.C., really in Maryland, we saw a poster at Johns Hopkins, one of their APL, one of the labs. And the poster had, quote unquote, high performance data processing. So, now I was with a few BDPA members. We looked at each other, we just smiled and said, okay, yep, they get it. So now going back to the actual theme, the theme itself is a play on words. I've always, and you've heard me say in some of the conferences that we have, we try to take BDPA's acronym and try to make it relevant. So I know we were founded as Black Data Processing Associates, but this term, big data and predictive analytics, is another form of BDPA. So we want to use that to really market, where we are, where we headed. And we've actually pulled together some keynotes and some subject matter experts that will be attending the conference to just share their thoughts on it. So when people come to the conference, they can look at the concepts, recognize some of the challenges that we're going to face, and look at all the opportunities that could arise from the challenges that we're facing. But yes, that is one of the BDPA acronyms that you'll probably hear a lot next week: big data and predictive analytics. Now, forged by the power of AI is such a hot topic right now. We wanted to make sure that we brought subject matter experts that can really connect those dots. So we look forward to some of the workshops that they're going to have, some of the keynotes. We have some heavy hitters coming in from industry. And we look forward to them actually taking that to the next level for our audiences. But I'm very excited about it. And Devin, I hope I answered that question. I know as a geek, I can get kind of corny. I probably have other BDPA acronyms waiting for you guys next week, but for now, this is what we're going to roll with.
No, I think Black geeks are appreciated. If not, they should be. So no, thank you for that. Eric, anything you want to add to this year's theme?
Oh, no, just echoing everything that Perry had mentioned. I think it's quite clear and evident the role that generative AI especially is playing in just the daily lives that we have, as well as some bigger, broader initiatives, to the point where, take, for example, giving a little bit of a healthcare and health science lens to things. The traditional way that we do molecule development is changing, where instead of the typical like in vivo and in vitro, you have something now called in silico, where now you're using like predictive models to actually generate life-changing drugs or life-changing medicine. So it's only apt and only right for us to make sure that we are aligned with the direction that we are ultimately moving from a technology standpoint and technology environment. So I think it was a well-choiced theme at the end of the day.
No, thank you. And I'm kind of kicking myself. I've been around Perry long enough where I should have known that was a play on the name. No, I get the $1 billion programs available. No, that's stuck with me now, but I'm going to remember this one. So great job choosing this year's theme. It's something that we definitely need to hear about as much as we can. So excited to see how this comes to life. And speaking of that, as we look into next week, how has the conference experiences and the lineup been curated in a way to bring the theme to life in those few days that we're in Atlanta?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the greatest things is we have a dynamic group of speakers across multiple different areas, whether or not that be in the life and sciences space, to cybersecurity, to more so leadership, to like directly working in the data sciences space and in AI and ML space, where you're going to have the opportunity to not only hear concepts in theory, but also practical use. How am I actually applying the variety of skill sets in my day to day, and how can you actually take that away and apply that either within your organization or just within your daily life? And I think those are the key takeaways that will ultimately help us grow as a community, and certainly is why we brought in the dynamic group of speakers that we have. But certainly, Perry, happy to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, actually, Devin, again, what Eric mentioned is that we wanted to make sure that all of our subject matter experts are very familiar with BDPA. They grew up in some of the same neighborhoods that we did, and basically they're bringing their expertise. And as we just curated this, a lot of them you'll see different areas of industry that pretty much are already working on systems, enterprise solutions already as a team, as mission partners or suppliers with each other. The collaboration, as you might see them, they collaborate on a lot of initiatives that you may see coming out of Congress, industry standards, and even some of the new legislation that, again, industry will need as we move forward. But I would say the team that we have putting together the conference, outstanding work, greatly appreciate them. And also the speakers that we have, again, will be supporting their own corporations as well as BDPA. They've done that. Some of them have worked with companies, have been with BDPA since inception, some of the companies. So we're very excited about that.
Well, both of you mentioned speakers and these extras we have coming in. And we know that BDPACon is known for a dynamic array of speakers. What can you tell us about this year's lineup of speakers and workshops and keynotes that we should be eagerly anticipating as we get ready for next week?
So right off the bat, we have, I'll just go down the list. So beginning with BDPA, again, we want to leverage our chapter leaders. I want to make sure that we have plenty of time for chapter leaders to collaborate, talk about best practices, identify some of the subject matter experts that are already in their communities, and work with them to, start cultivating awards. You mentioned earlier, BDPA, the $1 billion programs available. That should be one of the chapter's favorite acronyms of BDPA, because industry now has so many grants and awards now. We want to be able to put together a good infrastructure so we can actually support that and capture some of those new awards. And you're probably going to see more of them coming out in the next few years because our industry is growing so fast. And then, of course, the chapter building workshops, buddy systems, anything that works, best practices we want to be able to share. So right off the bat, we want to make sure that our subject matter experts and some of our chapters with best practices can actually share their insights. Then we have Cardinal Health. They're working on their session, the datafication of modern industry. So they're putting together pretty much a data science session that will be a plenary session for members to attend. Deloitte is sponsoring our CIO panel. And we have Eli Lilly and Company hosting a college symposium. IBM is supporting the Watson X generative AI and scientific data platforms as a reception. That's going to be on Thursday. And then we also have IBM Quantum representative. He'll be talking about protecting data in a post-quantum world. Quantum safe is the new term they use. Then we have Intel. Intel, one of the keynotes is pretty much going to be in line with our theme. That's going to be about big data forged by the power of AI. And Johnson & Johnson, they're supporting our Robotics Academy as far as, and also supporting our MedTech theme. They will be at the career fair as well, looking for talent for that. NASA is going to kick off Industry Day on Thursday. NASA, we have representative from their government contracting, commercial aerospace opportunities, small business office, and HBCUs and MSIs. That will be a keynote. Then we have NSA, the National Security Administration. We have the technology transfer team. They also will be talking about HBCU and MSI collaborations. And Oracle, we have one of the keynotes for Saturday morning. They will be discussing the Oracle scholarships. And as you may know, we have several Oracle scholars that have come through BDPA's conferences in the past. State Farm, gaming, esports, STEM, and the youth technology experience. That's always fun. But as we're starting to see, esports and gaming are now working their way into colleges. Colleges and universities now offering scholarships. High schools are now offering pretty much as a varsity sport. You can now basically have a varsity sport in the esports and gaming. So very exciting future for that. And Eric, anything else you want to share? Later on, I know we have other topics to talk about the two panels. We can discuss that later on as well. But right there, Devin, those are some of the highlights that we are very excited about next week. And hopefully we can connect those dots.
Yeah, nothing else to add there other than, again, shout out to some of the former members of BDPA. One of the events that we're planning to have is a sites alumni panel. So definitely interested to hear not only the growth and how BDPA made an impact in their lives, but also what wonderful work that they're doing out in the industry today as well. So.
Man, that's quite the lineup. As you know, naming up all these companies, I'm just thinking about all the people that have left BDPA conferences with job offers and different relationships. I've talked to some of these companies there myself, whether I was looking or not. So kind of going along that line, though, these companies are sharing all this knowledge with us and all this information, making sure we're relevant and current in today's technologies. But there's also a career fair plan that I know a lot of people from the community look forward to, and they come out and get engaged. So what can we expect from this year's career fair? And who are some of the major players lined up this year?
Yeah, definitely. Same as every year, looking at having some of these mission partners that we've had for quite a while. So like the Lillies, the J&Js, certainly now Cardinal Health, especially if you were to name some of the medical and or healthcare companies that are involved. Certainly getting folks like Oracle pulled into the fold, State Farm, just to name a couple others, as well as a number of extra folks that I'm probably forgetting right now, but definitely looking forward to just providing the platform and the opportunity not only for students, but also working professionals or those that have non-traditional backgrounds to get the opportunity to speak with, network, and ultimately see what all these amazing partners of BDPA are looking for and doing within industry. Perry, anything else to touch on there?
Yes, sir. Actually, what I like to share is that for any conference, whether it be ours or BitCon, ChannelCon, every conference, the entire conference is the career fair. We want people to really just come in, immerse themselves, embrace the new technology, embrace the challenges, because where there's a challenge, that represents opportunity. And one of the things that we've done every year, and this is our 50th year in existence, is that we've actually collected the dots that you need to connect.
Mm.
That is probably one of the things that really sets us apart from many organizations, is that we have a lot of history, very, very deep reservoirs of goodwill. We have a lot of people that we already have relationships with that people don't have to rebuild, reinvent. You just come into the conference, meet them, build your networks from that, because it's really about establishing that network. And what we meant by connecting the dots, like even some of the companies that we mentioned earlier, a lot of those companies actually work together. But one of the things that really will make the conference, and especially tech conferences, truly invaluable is the homework and the research that people can do prior to attending. As a case in point, Oracle recently acquired a company called Cerner. So big in healthcare, health tech, med tech. So that information, if you need to know someone who knows someone who knows someone, those are the type of questions you can come in, talk to us. Then, of course, most of us have our profiles on LinkedIn. And I think when we do the Hoover app, our LinkedIn profiles are already linked on there. So you can actually look at some of our history, some of the companies that we know, some of the people that we know, and use that to connect the dots. But the entire career fair in and of itself can really be the conference, and they're pretty much it's synonymous. The conference is the career fair is the conference.
That's a great perspective. When you go for an interview, they tell you, they're interviewing you, but you're interviewing the company too. So it's a two-way street. So,
that's correct. Yep.
Great insight to look through the conference, in a different lens, as the whole thing is a career fair, and there's opportunities every day, in every session and every touch point, to unlock doors to different opportunities that we may or may not have been thinking about. So hope everyone takes note of that one. That's a good one. So switching gears a little bit, I'm always looking forward to how does BDPA just keep taking it to another level each year. What are we doing that we haven't done before? So what are some of the new innovative things that's planned for this year's conference to make this stand out from all the others?
So Eric, I'll let you do the social part if you don't mind.
Yeah, so certainly we have a lot of the same core things. So certainly the Molson Coors event Thursday night, the BDPA game night, which was a little bit of a hit on Friday, and certainly capping it all off with the award ceremony. But a couple of things that we ultimately plan for this year is a strong partnership with not only the local chapter of BDPA Atlanta, but also with Blacks in Tech. For a couple of events that will happen or that we'll have throughout the conference. One of them to highlight is Code Sip Repeat, which shout out to Jason Bradshaw out of the Huntsville chapter for a really cool event. So definitely look at the Hulu app, look at all the announcements, check out the newsletters that have gone out about getting registered for that, which is going to be a really cool way to just network as well as code, as well as hang out. Open for all the adults older than 21 or 21 and up, obviously, as well as the BDPA conference run that's also in partnership with BIT. So for those that have a little bit more of an athletic tinge and want to get out there and get refreshed early in the morning before getting through all the content that we have for you, definitely show up and show out in terms of the BDPA run. But there's so much more that extends to Perry's point outside of just the typical scheduled events. So definitely make sure to make good use of not only the time that you have with the different conference goers, but also everything that Atlanta has to offer as well.
And Devin, also to add a little flair this year, we have a couple of bookends. Prior to our opening ceremony on Thursday morning, we have a mixer on Wednesday. And prior to the gala, we have another panel on Saturday. Now, on Wednesday, we have a tech and media panel. Now, tech and media, real quick, if you use that hashtag tech and media, when I say we, here in Washington, D.C., the D.C. chapter, we work with the National Association of Black Journalists, WABJ, really, the Washington Association of Black Journalists. And we had a mixer at the Navy Yard here in Washington. And part of our advertising together, we just had tech and media. So we started talking a few years ago about having more events like this where the media and tech organizations like ours start doing things together. Clearly, they haven't had enough traction as we like. But as you can see, media is really now really engaged in our industry because everything that we see right now, they can't really do it without data. They can't really do it without technology. So it's now getting closer and closer. So one of the things we put together is a tech and media panel, and that particular mixer is going to be followed by a panel. And as Eric alluded to, that panel will include leaders from Atlanta, the BDPA Atlanta, Blacks in Technology Atlanta, ITSMF, and the National Newspaper Publishers Association, represented by the Indianapolis Recorder, and also Tech Latino. Tech Latino, many of you may know as LISA, Latinos and Information Services organization, and they're headquartered in Atlanta as well. So we're going to have basically a good collaboration of people. Just how can we have a better relationship with media? And what I mean by that is mainstream media and Black media, rarely, if ever, you see them at technology events like ours. You might not see them at technology events at all. So one of the things that we want to do as tech organizations is to work with them to try to help them write articles, try to help them look at some of the policy initiatives that are coming down, just basically help them help us within our own communities. So that should be a very good conversation, a good dialogue we hope to have on Wednesday. Then Saturday, Saturday afternoon, well, midday Saturday, we have the tech and policy panel. That one we have subject matter experts from industry that we were talking about some of the initiatives that are on Capitol Hill that are really going to impact our communities. But one of the takeaways we want from those panels is understanding the challenges that we still have. How can BDPA help them with those challenges and solutions? And for those that are entrepreneurs, where there's a challenge, there's always a business opportunity. So some of the areas that we may touch on in tech and policy include regulations that could affect artificial intelligence or could affect the tech industry writ large. We also have the CHIPS Act, or known as the CHIPS and Science Act. Then you have data center locations. Many communities are now looking at saying we don't want a data center to be built near us. We have data privacy legislation. Net neutrality is coming back. And then, of course, you have the Section 2030 information that could be discussed as well. So those are topics that we want people to attend, become aware, do a little research prior to coming to the conference so they can find out exactly how that could affect their chapters. And quite frankly, how that could affect the people they want to vote, people they want to elect. Because now that our society is getting more complex and our industry is getting extremely robust and more advanced, we will need people that can make the laws for everyone to play fair, basically. So hopefully those two panels in themselves are a little bit different. We want to continue those, but we want to make sure we have good dialogue as a takeaway for not only chapters, but even the local community. We definitely want to invite some of the local nonprofit organizations as well to attend those events or attend those sessions.
No, thank you for that, Perry. I'm looking forward to the Wednesday mixer. I'll be moderating that conversation actually. So we're going to make sure that's a good time and an engaging dialogue there. We did have a question come through in the chat from Samuel Nixon. I think he's driving, so he may not be able to speak too much, but he did say, what is BDPA doing in my area of practice in global workforce development and AI?
Sam would ask a question like that. So since we love Sam, Sam, I have to invite you to attend some of the workshops we're having down in your neck of the woods. We have a Northern Virginia chapter in Lorton. We have a high school computer competition team that trains down there, both DC and Northern Virginia. And a lot of the students are doing extremely well. But to answer your question, we are basically standing up, I would say, a PMO, Program Management Office, in our sites portfolio to support artificial intelligence and I would say upskilling our digital workforce. So I would say within the next few days, we hope to have information from NASA based on a grant that we applied for last year. The grant was approved, so it's working its way right now through contracts and procurement. But we should have an announcement later this quarter for our sites program, PMO office, and some of the initiatives include getting upskilling our current workforce for programs such as AI or technology such as AI. And I hope I answered Sam's question. And Sam, you have my number, so I'll be more than happy to share with you more of that. But I would say If you are able to come to Atlanta, we can definitely share some more information about that. The Director of Small Business Programs will be keynoting our industry day on Thursday.
And I think there are multiple other areas that we're working towards those initiatives as well. Certainly want to make sure I call out things like the Cloud Academy that is open to any member of BDPA or BDPA adjacent of just upskilling from a cloud perspective and learning more in that workspace. Certainly the wonderful tech talks that Devin puts on is a great opportunity for professionals to learn more about different industries as well. We've had quite a few number of folks that have been in the AI ML space as well that have had the opportunity to talk to. So there's lots of programming not only at the national but local level as well. To Perry's point. So certainly get engaged with your local chapters as well as continue to participate in things like this as well as the conference and whatnot. So definitely echo that.
Thank you to both of you for those points. I always look forward to the BDPA conference, and I like to be engaged in the process. So you'll see me running around. I'm going to take a moment for a shameless plug here and just encourage everyone, if you are a business owner, if you have a business idea, we'll also be having our 3rd annual From Idea to Launch, FI2L. I mean, it's our cool acronym. We don't have the branding yet, so I still have to explain what it is. But FI2L, our entrepreneurial pitch competition, is happening next Friday at the conference. I believe it's 1:15 to 3:30 in the agenda, something like that. It's in the newsletter. It's been posted on social media, but definitely sign up for that if you have a business or a business idea in tech or engineering. If you're less than 3 years old, or if you've raised less than 500K capital, there is a grand prize of $5,000. I just want to make sure business owners are aware that we do have an opportunity for you to get your business invested in by BDPA and connect you with the pool of resources and network that this organization has. And you've heard from Perry, who some of the people and organizations are in that network to help advance what you have going on. So I want to drop a shameless plug for that. And Rosemary also dropped a shameless plug in the chat for the Molson Coors happy hour that Eric alluded to that Thursday evening from 6:30 to 10 at Park Bar. That's about a 3-minute walk from the West End. There's usually a big group of us headed over there, so you'll find it. But that's always a good time, and we appreciate Molson Coors for being a supporter of BDPA all these years and continuing to do so. So want to drop those 2 shameless plugs in there. But at this time, are there any other questions from the audience? We'll open the floor for any questions from anyone on the call about anything that's been said today or that wasn't said today.
Hi, I have a question. My name is Brooke McClinton, and I'm a junior computer information systems major at Virginia State University, and this will be my first conference. And so I was wondering if you had any advice for someone who is attending the conference for the first time, or a conference in general for the first time, who wants to take advantage of everything there is to offer.
Yeah, wonderful question. I'd say probably my strongest advice is don't sit next to people that you know. There is such an amazing group of individuals that will be sitting right next to you, and they will look like they are just a plain old Joe that, isn't anything special, but next thing you know, they're a CIO of this Fortune 500 company. So definitely take every opportunity to talk with, to get out of your comfort zone, to network with folks. And some of the biggest and most important times are that 15-minute break in between sessions. So not only take advantage of all the material that you'll be able to receive throughout the conference, but also take a good advantage of all the opportunities to network with folks across the conference, not only in person, but also there's opportunities to do so as a part of the Hoover platform as well. So get out there, ask questions, spark up a conversation. That's definitely one of my biggest pieces of advice for first conference goers.
Eric, I have a question on that. This is Bridget. What is your strategy when you go to a conference? Do you try to meet 3 to 5 people and then follow up with them after the conference? What strategy do you suggest that we use?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful strategy. Oftentimes, the best way I like to get connected is via LinkedIn. It's a pretty easy way, especially now that there's a little QR code. And then just send them a gentle message, either shortly after the interaction or after the conference is over, saying, it was a pleasure meeting with you and a pleasure connecting with you. And certainly it's given me the opportunity to continue to curate what I call my board of directors. So there are some folks that I don't necessarily talk to on a weekly or monthly basis, maybe once a quarter or once or twice a year, that are huge pieces of my life of being able to kind of be a sounding board. There's also some opportunities that I've been able to have at my feet from just the random conversations that I sparked up with somebody that I didn't really think was anything special. So definitely not only connecting with people at the conference, but reinforcing that to your point, after the conference, either via LinkedIn or a gentle message goes a long way, just to continue to foster those relationships. So definitely thanks for that question.
Thank you so much. We're definitely very excited to attend conference. So, yeah.
Excited to have you.
I saw Judy highlighted in the chat, the esports and the youth technology experience, which Perry spoke to earlier. But definitely excited for that again. That was pretty cool. It was a whole little esports lounge, one of the rooms downstairs last year, and I think it was getting pretty competitive. I want to say there was a young lady who won like the Madden tournament or NCAA. It was something, 2K. It was some tournament that there was a young lady who beat all those guys, and they looked embarrassed, rightfully so. But no, it was fun. It was a good time. So yeah, I think that's the takeaway there. There's something for everyone at the BDPA conference. And Brooke, to your question, I always say with any conference, some of the most valuable time you can spend is what's not on the agenda. If you're down in the bar area, if you are 21, you grab a drink with someone. A lot of good conversations happen that way. There's food around, grabbing a meal. What I've done, what people have done with me is actually reached out in the Hoover app. So make sure you download that if you haven't already. You should have received the link when you registered. But in that Hoover app, you can message people like you would on any social media platform and arrange meetings like that. Hey, can we grab 15 minutes and just have a conversation? I saw you work for so-and-so, you do such and such, and I want to learn a little bit more. Just don't undervalue the power of a simple reach out and saying, hey, can we talk? You never know what can happen from there. So excited to see you there next week.
Thanks. I use that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Devin, that's a great point. And Brooke, welcome to BDPA, and look forward to having a good time with your classmates. And one of the things that Devin just alluded to, we probably can't highlight enough, but it's very key about conferences and conventions, is that really showing up is really key, because that way you actually can build that professional network, and then ask the questions, bring the passion and ask those questions. Because it's those individuals that are actually in the room that not only will you discover the secret sauce, you might have the special sauce, the secret special sauce, and in some environments, you might even have the top secret special sauce. Those solutions are invaluable, and that's how you ultimately end up having good mentors and a good mentor-protege relationship, whether it be individual or for your company or even for your organization or for your school. But these individuals will be there. They have a wealth of knowledge, several years of experience, and that should really help with your journey and your career.
Yeah, that's great to hear, because we're definitely also trying to identify people who can speak to students at our school for our chapter, because that's one of our goals, to increase exposure to tech professionals. So I think this is a great opportunity for that.
It is. And also, before I forget, I want to add part of our chapter building session, and we might not have enough time to complete all of it, but I want to make sure we plant the seeds and at least get a framework established. We want to start having our calendar, prepare a calendar for next year. We pretty much do the same thing every year. So let's formalize that calendar and get it in front of organizations and the professionals that are already at the conference, so that if you know that VSU is having a special event next year, make sure you hit me up on LinkedIn, or you may already have my text, but if you don't, that's on LinkedIn. I can provide it to you. Let me know an event that you all want to host, or an event that you all normally do every year in the fall semester or spring semester, and we can get on the schedule, and we'll try to get speakers and support for you.
Yeah, most definitely. That'd be great. Thanks.
There's two questions in the chat. One is, will there be an opportunity to access the conference virtually as well?
Yeah, so the conference is primarily going to be an in-person experience this year. Certainly through the platform, you can still do all the same key networking, like Devin had mentioned, message a few folks, get introduced, participate in some of the community forums and boards in that regard. But in terms of, take for example, the actual conference content, some of the sessions, some of the keynotes, we're looking to do some recordings this year, but nothing in terms of live streaming. So some of those things may be available post-conference through our YouTube. Also, talks like this are also posted on our YouTube. So if you haven't followed that page, definitely go out there and check content out. But yeah, unfortunately, there won't be a huge virtual presence this year.
And on that note, make sure you subscribe to National BDPA on YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, click like, share, comment below. All the influencer terms, do all that stuff, share it with a friend. Tag in so you don't miss what
That's key. Devin, I appreciate you saying that, because one of the things that we don't do enough is we don't share. I've seen gazillions of likes on all the social media channels, but I said this is important information. And you might have heard that saying, information is powerful, but it frankly is not powerful unless you share it. I mean, through my lens. But yes, definitely share it.
Yeah. Knowledge that isn't shared is simply data. It needs to be processed to be information. We had another question in the comment: will the high school computer competition be taking place, and what can guests sit in on?
Yeah, another great question. So in the Whova app and in the schedule is also posted to conference.bdpa.org. So if you want to keep up to date with new information that's coming out, definitely either check out the schedule in Whova and definitely download the app or check out the website. But the events for HSCC that are open to public are marked as such in either the session title or the session description. I believe most of the open content will be like their presentations, but definitely I'd say go ahead and take a look out at the schedule and then just check to see what is open to the public versus what is specifically open to the competitors. Now, as always, every year, the plan would be that post the actual award ceremony, the solutions for the students would be available, and certainly you can connect with some of the other chaperones and chapter leaders if there's more interest here and there as you need. So.
Thank you for those questions. Thank you, Eric and Perry. Any other questions from the group? Perry, Eric, I'll ask one. Are people still able to register for the conference? If so, how?
Yep, so people are still able to register for the conference. Again, go to conference.bdpa.org and follow the link for registration. As well, we're going to be doing registration on site. So if you haven't gotten the chance to, or you have a friend or a family member that is interested in going and kind of had to shuffle stuff together last moment, definitely tell them to come by. We'll be there sitting with computers available for folks to get registered and get set up.
Okay. We have a question. Can guests sit in on the IT showcase and robotics competition?
The answer is yes for both. Again, there will be information posted in the schedule for at what times folks can actually join both of those programs. Some of those sessions for both of the respective programs will be limited to only the competitors. Then there will be some of those sessions that will be open for the general public. So posted presentations, I believe on Saturday for IT Showcase will be open to the general public as well. Will be in the Career Fair Hall on Saturday for some of the students that are competing. So definitely not only check out the Career Fair Hall for all the really cool corporate sponsors and general partners that we'll have there, but also to see some of the really cool work that the students have been able to put together. And then similar thing for robotics competition that will be listed in the schedule in Whova as well. What is open to public versus closed.
Okay. Any other questions from the group? We want to make sure our hearts and minds are clear before we get to Atlanta on Wednesday.
Hi, this is Sam. I didn't have a chance to talk earlier, but I was going to say thank you for the information. and we're looking forward to a good conference. And Perry,
Absolutely.
I'll be in touch with you, Perry, later on.
And Sam, we finally have a Northern Virginia chapter for you, sir. So
I
look-
see.
look-
I'm excited to hear that.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
All right, then. Take care.
Thank you, Sam. Well, I think we've covered most of the talking points today. So Perry, Eric, want to leave you with one last question. I know, what's the biggest thing you want people to take away from this year's conference?
Or if you want to start out.
You want me to start, Eric? I was gonna let you, and I'll close.
No, you go for it. Go for it.
So I would say bring the passion and embrace emerging technology. It's here. When you go back to your communities after the conference, participate in career fairs, get those STEM fairs going, go out to elementary school, middle school, high school, but definitely bring the passion. And the other piece is, again, we've collected the dots for almost 50 years now. This is our 50th year. We have our milestone celebration next year, but when we complete this year, we would have completed 50 years. So we've collected a lot of dots. It's now available for everyone to connect those dots and go forth and prosper. So we definitely want everybody to go back home to their chapters, to scale, work with the communities, work with your legislators, work with your appropriators to get the funding that you need. And again, the number one takeaway is get ready for next year's 50th anniversary celebration, because I know Devin talked about one of his questions was, where's the party? It's almost here, buddy. It's almost here. But anyway, safe travels. And again, I want to thank everybody for your support. And Eric and your team, outstanding work, sir. I mean, I know it's sometimes it's an uphill battle, but inside the organization, we get to see everything. But we want to make sure that everyone has a beautiful experience and we hope to enjoy. So, Eric?
You see, that's why I said go first, because I couldn't have put it in any better way. So definitely thank you all, and certainly looking forward to seeing you all at the conference.
Well, thank you everyone for joining today. If you're watching, listening on YouTube, thank you for checking this out. Make sure you hit like, share, subscribe, comment below, click the bell so you know when we post. We're gonna get that influencer speech down by the end of the year. Make sure y'all do that. Hey, go to conference.bdpa.org, register if you haven't already. If you have registered, go out there, check out the agenda, look at some of the speakers that are coming up. Download the Hoover app so you can keep the ultimate source of truth with you at all times when there are changes throughout the conference. And make sure you get the emails and look at the newsletters, the social media posts. There's a lot that's going on at this conference, and we don't want you to miss any of it. I think there's another newsletter coming out probably today or early next week. So be on the lookout for that. Sign up for the pitch competition, sign up for Codes to Repeat, register for the happy hour with Molson Coors, and everything else that's in there. Make sure you're there. Get your money's worth. Be there. Be present. And looking forward to seeing you all in Atlanta next week. So as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll see you next time.
Safe travels, everybody.
Thanks, Dad.